Yesterday, I had a bad day, and today my day is better. And usually my day be better when I have realizations. And it's funny how you could feel like you know a few things. You could feel like you got knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And whatever. And then, you gotta experience being humbled by the Most High God, because you're just not as smart as you would like to believe you are. I've been battling suicidal thoughts for the longest time. And, it just seems like every time I feel like I'm healing, I end up feeling bad again. I end up feeling terrible again, battling suicidal thoughts again, dealing with so many negative emotions again. And it's just like a cycle that I've had to go through in my life. And, I just had a realization just now, and it's basically, the psychological warfare tactics. Everybody has fallen victim to these things. And why? Because of the implementation of these games, similar to the Roman Empire Colosseum fights, the competition games, and the drawing of comparison games. So, it's technically like we're all in the same boat, At the end of the day, all this wanting a better life, feeling like you look better than the next person, or you're living better than the next person. These comparison games and competition games got everybody sick in the head. Unless, you have broken out of that, out of these mental constructs of comparison and competition that have been used as psychological warfare tactics to leave everybody confused and keep everybody mentally enslaved and entrapped in their minds, thinking in ways that are not godly or righteous. Because I just had a realization, and it is this: what is better under the sun? What is better under the sun? Ain't nothing better under the sun unless we are talking about love. If it ain't that, then, what is it? Because of these games of drawing comparisons and competition, it's got females competing with each other, trying to look better. Men competing with each other, trying to live a better life, have a better car, a better house, a better looking woman. It's all about who's better. And I had this realization because I could be possibly facing more jail time because of my recent behavior Um, I've just been, I've been losing my mind lately. I've literally lost my mind and had to regain my mind, regain consciousness. I could say consciousness, because I feel like I lost consciousness of what I was doing. Basically being taken over by wicked and demonic spirits. Scary. Let me just say, terrifying. But I feel like God just gave me this revelation, in the midst of humbling me, because I had to admit it to myself that I don't love myself. And all this time I've been saying that I do. But if I did, I would treat myself better. And if I did, I wouldn't have 2 DUI charges. And if I did, I wouldn't have all these petty crime charges against me currently that I'm dealing with. If I did, my life wouldn't look the way that it looks, if I was as smart as I thought I was, my life would look a lot better than it does. And that's the truth. And the truth is also that, I'm not the only one that has had to have this realization that I don't love myself like I thought that I did. I'm not the only one that is just now realizing that I need to really learn how to love myself, because you can have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but you have to have you have to have it. You have to be able to have it in the way that God is instructing you to, not in a worldly way. The truth is that a lot of people don't love themselves. Even if you are somebody that has money, that doesn't equivalent to self-love. And, what I'm trying to say is basically a lot of people are addicts, right? Just like me. And when you're an addict, you can't love yourself when you're an addict. Loving yourself is hard to do when you're an addict. It's hard because when you're an addict, all you care about is getting your fix or whatever. And a lot of people are addicts, right? That need their fix every day. Okay? And that is not self-love. And it breaks my heart because I feel like I learned this a long time ago, but it's just I have a new perspective on it now, because for so many years I always just wished that I had a better life, in comparison. You see what I'm saying? In comparison, in competition, because that's comparison. Comparison is competition. In comparison and in competition with other people in the world. Like people with a lot of money and stuff like that. But like I said, what is better and who is better? If we're not talking about love, ain't nothing better. Because even if, like for example, I always wished that I could have, a relationship that was good, with a man, a heterosexual relationship with a man that was good and, we get along, we, hardly ever fight and stuff like that. Like that's like the dream. That was always like my dream life. To have love was always my dream life. But see, this is where a lot of people get it confused. Not only to have love, but also to have money to be able to take care of my basic essential needs, without having to struggle, okay? But that's not love. And the real definition of a better life, the only way is the realization that I had today. To not feel bad about if I do have to go back to jail and spend more time in jail. To not feel bad about my life as a 40-year-old woman that, is still struggling to take care of myself and take care of my basic essential needs. And, I don't have no significant other. I don't have a man that loves me and stuff. I feel like that's why God sent me this revelation. Because even people that have that money and the ability to take care of their basic essential needs, not having to struggle, and they have a relationship, that doesn't mean that they have self-love. If you want a better life, you need God. And you need God a lot more than you need another person or, money to take care of your basic essential needs. I mean, God is more important than anything that we can see, any material thing or any relationship with a person, anything that we can see with our eyes, any physical, tangible thing. God is more important, right? And, basically, if you want a better life, or you're wishing you had a better life, how do you get a better life? The truth, the real answer to that is you need more love, because God is love, right? Those that do not love do not know God, for God is love. How do you get a better life? You need more love, which means you need more God. Because the way they got it set up is that everybody admires the celebrities and their lifestyle and wants to live a luxurious luxury lifestyle. Everybody is chasing after fame and chasing after a bag. And this is what people like to promote and perpetuate, is this idea of chasing a bag. Getting a bag and get you some money, get you some money, get you some money. but money doesn't buy you love. Love, it only comes from God. Love you can only get from God, right? And that's what I need more of, and that's what people need more of in order to love themselves and to essentially have a better life. Like, I think I'm officially done with the whole comparison games and the whole competition games. I'm just officially done with it, because this is what has everybody sick. This is the reason why everybody is sick and suffering. It's because of the competition games and the comparison games. And I think I'm just done, because, no matter how a person's life looks on the outside, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it looks. And I feel the same way about my life. It doesn't matter how my life looks, but I'm going to get my shit together. Another thing that God helped me to realize today is that when all you've encountered in your life was just people that were battling demons, of course, it's inevitable that is going to affect you in a negative way. It's going to change you in negative ways. If that's all you have ever been around, was just people battling demons, that's a for sure sign that you need to draw nearer to God, because man, who wants to deal with people that are battling demons your whole life? That's what my whole life has looked like. That's what my whole life has looked like. That's what my whole life has been like. Just dealing with people that are battling demons, just dealing with the demonic constantly, over and over and over and over and over. This is why I've lost my mind, more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times, This is why, I was dealing with so much anger and couldn't figure out why it wouldn't go away. And it's because I needed to realize that being alone and alone with God, again, like I used to be way back in the day, I need my peace of mind. And that's the only way that I've been able to find it. And the only reason I've had to dealing with people that were battling demons all the time is because I was always looking for love. I was always desperate for love, and I feel like I've reached a point now where, I understand that's not where love comes from. It doesn't come from being able to say I'm in a relationship with somebody, or, I have a man that loves me. You can't have a man that loves you when you don't love yourself, for one. And, that's been my problem this whole time, is just wanting to be loved. And I just feel like I'm at the point now where it's like, okay, God, okay, I get it. You are enough. Because what I've been doing is trying to go ahead of God. And you can't do that. It's never going to work in your favor when you try to go ahead of God. God knows exactly what you need. Forget about what you want, right? He knows exactly what you need. And what you need is what God wants to give you. Not necessarily always what you want, right? So, yeah. I'm just tired, I'm just tired of being so desperate to be loved that, I am suffering behind it. I don't want to suffer anymore. I've suffered for so long that I began to believe that I'll never be happy here, in this world. So what's the point of trying to be happy? I've suffered for so long that I began to believe very firmly that nothing good will ever last in my life, because it never did. So I was doing a bunch of stuff, just acting out in my old age, acting out like a child, because of my broken heart, because of my brokenness, from disappointment, things not working out in my favor. But it's all about patience. Because when you're patient, when you're able to wait on God, when you're able to do what God is asking of you to do, which can be hard, to be willing enough to spend the time that you need to spend with God, to be able to know how to move, what to do, where to go, when to go, where God is asking you to go. Just to be able to hear God's voice, that's very important. And when you get to that point where you are just so self-centered on what you want to happen in your life, this is how the enemy is able to manipulate you, deceive you, and lead you astray. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was running, literally running from God's instruction, running from, the time that I needed to spend with God, running from God. I was running from God, running. That's how I got in so much trouble. That's why I'm in so much trouble now. It's just from running from God. Just running, being an addict, addicted to alcohol, running, because I wasn't getting things my way. I wasn't getting what I wanted, which was love, right? But love is God, and I guess I could say, I get it now. Okay, God, I get it.